Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Blah, 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 blah.
Good morning. Good morning to Jew. Hey, with Rachel. Okay, that was my mic. Okay.
No, do not spill stuff.
We squeeze the juice. We don't spill the tea in our show. We squeeze the juice.
Exactly. We squeeze 2 Jews.
That's a lot of pimples.
Oh, shut up.
No, I'm talking about me too.
Teasing. Oh, look, there's my fire extinguisher. I gotta stop. Oh, I'm telling you, I cannot wait to have my office. I cannot wait.
Oh, it's going to be so sweet. Adriano, do you hear her? Adriano, do you hear her?
He's not here.
Probably a good idea.
He is not here. How are you?
I'm doing okay, as usual. Just rolled out of bed, but I feel fabulous.
Good.
Have you been up for like 3 hours?
3 hours. No, I was up an hour ago.
Oh, wow. It's amazing. I'm sitting on my couch right now. I'm going to sit on the floor on my meditation cushion and see if I can get comfy.
Absolutely. I was chatting with my girlfriend, whose name shall be kept anonymous.
Yes.
She's at the hospital right now because she's pregnant, and she was supposed to have her baby tried to be turned. Okay, I wonder if you know these things. Okay, so
I know a lot. The head didn't turn down towards the vagina, so I know my shit.
I'm such a
I know my pussies.
You just don't know your boobies.
Yeah, I just don't know my boobs, but I know my pussies.
Okay, fair enough. So
yeah.
So they had to have her in today because she's due in a couple weeks to see if they could turn the baby. And ladies out there, I can't imagine how uncomfortable that must be. I mean, I've never had kids myself, but to be that big and have hands on, like, try to turn. So apparently, anyway, long story short, baby wouldn't turn. Apparently her butt's like right up in her pelvis. So it's not happening. So a C-section is going to have to be scheduled. But anyway, just literally text. She sent me a very beautiful photo of her in a mask and a gown. And
oh God, the new norm.
Right?
Is the baby going to come out with a mask too?
I know. Right? All the pandemic babies. And the poor babies, they're going to be called pandemic babies for the rest of their lives.
Coronials.
Exactly, that too. Pandemic baby, coronial, like, oh my goodness. Well, and speaking of masks, like yesterday, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, it's just, it still gets me. For example, I was just about to walk into a grocery store yesterday, and there was a mother with her 2 kids. And the first thing she said, do you have your masks? Make sure you put your masks on. Put your masks on. Like, you know, those kinds of things that are just, and we've talked about this numerous times, and I talk about this with my friends that have kids, but like, how this developmentally will be on children as they grow older. And that was like, when they were little, like, I don't know. It's, yeah. Anyway.
Well, even like, again, like my best friend Marcella and her daughter Isabel, and having to condition her, and she's under 3 years old, that she is unsure she should hug people or not. Like, how inhumane is that? Like, keeping distance and stuff from cousins and your friends. It's so sad. And there's such formative years too for this to be happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I know.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you know, that's not really like a decent segue or anything, but I just feel like at the time, because
I know.
That's why Hero and I have a new segment called
The Last Sip.
Because we tend to do this and keep talking, and then the guest pops on. We're like, oh wait. Yeah, we have a guest this morning. That's right.
Yeah. I just love how Rachel, at the moment you said, nah, I don't really like that. And then all of a sudden now we call it The Last Sip.
I guess because I thought of it, it sounded almost like, what did I say? The Last Supper.
Yeah.
It's like, but it works. It works.
It does work. So our guest this morning is someone that I'm really excited to talk to, just like all of our other guests. And They are known as Nick Peters Bond, or shall I say, Chef Nick Peters Bond. He is our second guest that we've had on the show that is from the franchise and hit reality show Hell's Kitchen. And he is a two-time Hell's Kitchen star. He was on season 14 and season 17. And 17 was the All Stars edition. So he's got a lot of knowledge of the food industry from the reality side and also from the professional side. He has also been on, I think, Chopped Sweets, if I'm not mistaken myself. And he's also been on other productions in television and is very well known within his community, as well as being part of the queer community, a husband and a father, which is
Yeah.
absolutely adorable. And he is very public about it on his social media channels. Rachel, feel free to fill in additional things because I know that you do the nitty gritty.
Just not like super nitty gritty, but a little bit, because we do pride ourselves in having these raw, like unscripted conversations where we can just open the chat up to, more than just what you typically hear. So with that being said, I did look a little bit into him, and there was the cutest video that he did recently with his daughter baking cookies.
Yes.
Did you see that?
Yes. So
Yeah,
cute.
actually, that might have been, was it Valentine's Day?
It might have been. And then also the one where he surprises her with a kitty.
Oh, I didn't see that.
That's on this Instagram. It's so cute.
But I love it because she keeps like, he's like, so what's your favorite color for cookie? And she's just like, this one. So he also he owns a catering company, which, during the pandemic times, I'm not sure how that's going. We'll get to ask him those questions. He's in Massachusetts. So 3 hours ahead of us.
I haven't heard of that province.
Very funny. So yes, his catering company is called Kitchen to Aisle Catering. That I believe he co-owns with a partner, and and he's doing a lot of, like, he's got a YouTube channel now, and actually, because he's been announcing this, he is a you don't want to say contestant. He's competing, I guess you should say, for a contest right now. Did you know about this, Hero? Okay, so the contest is, and he'll probably be on any second here, which he can tell us more about it. But I thought it might be on his link tree on his Instagram. He can tell us more. Anyway, there's a contest he's being a part of, and I believe he gets to be a part of a really big magazine. And now it's escaping me as to what the magazine is, but there's a spread in a magazine.
Food and Wine?
No, not Bon Appetit. It's like something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus $20,000
Ooh.
and to be known as, America's, almost like America's sweetheart chef. Like,
Yes.
so that's going on, and I think you can actually vote for that starting today.
Amazing. We definitely got to plug the shit out of that.
Plug that for sure. And so there's just something so humble and sweet about Nick.
Yes.
As we connected with him, like, he's been really interactive even with our posts lately, and like there's just I'm really looking forward to speaking with him, because I get this just really like wholesome, beautiful vibe. So I'm super stoked. And what I think we really want to do is what we do with all of our guests is really get to know him a little bit on a deeper level, because I know even an interview I watched that he did in December, not to poo-poo other people that are talking to these reality TV people or anybody, but it was all the questions were about Hell's Kitchen. Mm-hmm. Fair enough, but I think we want to know a little bit more. Yeah.
We do, for sure. And even if we, talk about Hell's Kitchen a little bit in this recording with him, I don't need to know about the show. I want to know about like his personal experiences and the stuff that he took from those experiences, as opposed to like production and what was this like, and of course, I'm curious to know what it's like to work with, Gordon Ramsay and Christina Williamson, who I would love to have on the show one day, but it's about the connection, about what do they take from the experience, as opposed to, give us the dish on so and so. Like, I don't care about that.
Well, and how he's grown since then. So it's interesting because, like, with Mary Lou, I mean, she's currently on the show with Chef Nick. I mean, it's been a couple of years now since he was on season 17. Mm-hmm. So, what's happened in between now and then, and being on 2 seasons. I mean, that's really cool too. So,
and 2 seasons relatively close together, which is also interesting, because some people that go on shows are, they're has-beens, right? Like they're established after being on the show first, and then they really start to flourish and they come back on the show, and sometimes their performance on the show is not as strong as it once was.
That's true.
So it's
That's
really interesting to kind of
yeah.
see that how has that affected performance, and how has that affected the public eye of their personal brand and their professional status.
Absolutely. And then once again, like we've been asking pretty much all of our guests, just because in such strange times still, you know, how has their career, what's going on right now with their career? Are they pivoting to different things, especially being in the restaurant industry and food and with catering? I mean, the events are not really happening, although it depends on where you live, because in Canada, they're not happening. But in some of the States, I mean, I think they're still happening in some certain states.
Yeah. And certain parts of the world where COVID is not as rampant, and where the variants are not being traveled or contracted to and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I think also some people are just doing it even though they know they're not supposed to, and they haven't been shut down yet, but they're still doing it because they're humans, and humans want to be humans.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that'll be really interesting as well. It's funny because I know you said at one point, you're like, yeah, Rachel loves the cooking shows, and I do, but I suck at cooking. I mean, not like that makes a difference. I mean, should be, but it'd be nice to learn from these shows, but I really don't. Mm-hmm. I just enjoy the dynamic and seeing people create things and the passion.
Yeah.
But I actually really don't. I was just going to say, as he comes on, I don't really like cooking.
Perfect. I love that. Perfect segue. I love it. Oh my God. Perfect. Good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
Good. How are you? So nice to see you from the other side.
Yeah.
Girl, that sounded really morbid. From the other side.
Yeah, from the other side. Yeah, exactly, right? I know. You should tell us already immigrate to Canada already. Come on, what are you doing there?
Nick, it is so nice to meet you. I always like to let our guests know that we're recording right away, so you know, be careful with what you say. No, I'm just kidding. But just so you know, and we did like a nice little intro to you already, but we just kind of dive right in, so to speak. I don't know if you heard what I said. I was like, you know, I love these cooking shows. I've always enjoyed watching the passion and the creativity, but I don't like cooking.
And I'm very slow too.
I know.
Interestingly enough, but anyway, yeah. So no, we did a little intro. So you're in Massachusetts, is that?
Yeah.
Okay. What is the weather like in Massachusetts?
It's cold. Yeah, it's cold. I think it's probably colder where you guys are, I'm assuming. I don't know. It's like low 30s right now.
Probably equivalent to where I am. I don't know about Rachel. She's further up north.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that far up north, but yeah, there's a little trickling of snow right now, which is beautiful, but
yeah,
covering is 30 around 0 Celsius? I'm not sure, because we do Celsius. I don't even know.
I'm the wrong person to ask.
30 is, it's similar to 0, like freezing point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 32 degrees Fahrenheit is considered freezing here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Even though it gets much lower, and but yeah, it's kind of raining right now. It's kind of gross out, but whatever.
Well, the sun looks beautiful on you.
Thank you. My glowing skin, you know.
Oh, very ageless. Very ageless.
Well, we're so stoked to have you on. And like we were just saying about, you know, some of your accolades, Hell's Kitchen, season 4.
Yes. Yep.
Currently, maybe, I don't know for how many years now, having a catering company, which you I think you co-own.
Yep.
And YouTube channel. And I was just saying how adorable your daughter is. And I was just giggling because I think it was one of the more recent ones with Valentine's Day. And you're like, so what color cookie do you like? This one.
Yeah. I was like, okay, that's enough. And she kept going. And then we were like decorating the cookies, and she like put some like icing on her cookie and then just like started eating her own. I was like, okay, looks like I'm doing these by myself. That's perfect.
You figured out the system. She did.
She knows. She's smart. Yeah, she's so cute. We really lucked out. She's a very cute, sweet little kid.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
How old is she?
3.5.
Oh,
And we got her when she was 6 days old from the hospital.
whoa.
So she was technically she was our foster child up until she was available for adoption. So, I mean, at least in Massachusetts, how it works is there's not a lot of like infants or newborns that are available for adoption. Typically it's kids are a little bit older, which we were really interested in growing with a child and, from birth, but they were like, you might have to foster a child first before that happens. We're like, okay, we're down to take the risk. And obviously it paid off because it was legally adopted as of last September. So, but yeah, she's great. And we really lucked out. So, yeah.
Oh.
Hold on a second.
Mhm.
So I know this is totally, we want to know more about like who Nick is rather than I was just
Yes.
like, okay, I can ask you the million questions about what's Gordon Ramsay like, blah, 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 like things, but I don't really necessarily, we've heard those things before, I think.
Right.
But so you illegally adopted her in September of 2020?
2019, excuse me. So it's been 2019.
Okay.
So, and she was born in August of 2017. So the process was 2 years total until she was like officially adopted by us. Yeah.
And is it normally a couple years, or is it different depending on the family? Or the kid?
They said that this, like her like case or whatever, is pretty fast. Because a lot of times what happens is kids will be in and out of foster care, and why that happens is because they really want to reunite children with their biological family members, whether it's an aunt, a grandparent, the mother, the father. If the father or mother maybe have had some drug dependency issues and then they get clean, the child could go home. So like technically Savannah could have went home with her biological parents at some point if they had gotten their act together and, they did the things that they were supposed to do, but they never did. And I guess fortunately, but unfortunately for them, I suppose. So it does take a while because, we were lucky. We didn't have to have any visits with the biological parents. And typically if you have a foster child, you have like weekly visits with the biological parents. That's supervised. I don't know how it works, but at least that's how it's working in like Massachusetts. We do that. But yeah, I just think we really lucked out because they say like they could count on like one hand how many times, it was just very smooth. It was a very smooth transition and process. So we're really grateful.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Awesome. And that's like, I had no idea. I don't have kids myself. Hero doesn't have kids.
A lot.
No.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
I know. Praise you. It didn't happen in my life, so praise you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh my goodness. Well, fair enough.
Rachel.
I
Not subtle at all.
guess I just was like, oh, let's talk. I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say it like that. No, it's just my husband. We've been together for like it's not about me is what I was meaning to say. We've been together for a number of years. And, now that I'm getting closer to I don't want to say, but closer to 40, which is scary as fuck. We can swear on this podcast, by the way.
Okay.
But, we still, it's like, we still don't know. And then my husband just was visiting with his parents and briefly saw his brother who has 3 kids. And he was just telling me about like, I can't imagine, but like one,
one is good for now. My sister has 3 girls and they're 4, 2.5, and then like 6 months. They're all very close in age. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, I never thought that she would have kids. Like when we were growing up, I was always the one who was like very like, I don't know, like paternal, and I just loved kids. And I had a lot of like younger little cousins. And I never thought my sister would be the person to have 3 children under the age of 3.5 or 4. I was like, she's crazy. So 1 is great for now. It's a lot of work. And, but it's fun. She's like, it's just interesting seeing kids, like how you raise them and grow up and like their personalities and things they catch on to very quickly. Watch what I say a lot too. She's like a parrot now. Yes. So, but yeah, honestly, I have friends that kids aren't for everyone, and that's okay. You know what I mean? I think society puts a lot of pressure on people that are married to, go about the motions and that like stereotypical life of like, okay, you bought a house, you're married, now it's time to have kids. And some people just, you don't have to,
Right.
And that's okay.
It is okay, but I give so much. I commend everybody that does that, especially in queer relationships, because it is something that shows people that are still, a little bit behind the times, that people can do whatever they want, and it's the fact that we're people, and that's it.
Right. Yeah.
Just take out everything else. Just we're people. Take out every name. Take out every gender. Take out every sex. Like, we're people, and we have the ability to procreate, and we have the ability to raise, and that's our choice.
Yeah, there are lots of different options out there for people too. We chose the foster to adopt route, but we also looked into like having a biological child and then maybe doing private adoption, but it's really expensive here. So it was something that was not in the cards for us, which I was like, I kind of had to like let that go, because I really always had this vision of me having a biological child, but now it's like, we don't look anything alike, but you couldn't tell me she wasn't my daughter. Do you know what I mean? It just formed that bond because we got her from birth. So
yeah,
my whole views have completely changed on that, but
yeah,
it's not for everyone.
What is she? I know, Rachel, you're going to say something, but I got to chime in here. What's it been like so far for her as she's starting to learn to talk, to put her cognitive development into dialectic communication? What's her psychology about having two fathers, and what's her psychology like? Does she have any differentiation, or she's like, those are my parents? Like, I'm curious to know that.
It's interesting. So she's very much into like playing mommy right now, and that was like very much unprompted, but just I think with things like on TV, there's not a lot of like children's TV shows that have two dads or two moms or whatever. So she does like to play mommy, but she hasn't quite yet said like, why don't I have a mommy? I'm Dada, my husband's daddy, to her. And she hasn't really, she knows that, a lot of shows have a mother and a father, but she hasn't quite yet. I don't think she's really there yet in terms of like thinking like, maybe she is and she hasn't expressed it, but I don't think she's there yet in terms of like, okay, why do I have two dads and not a mom and a dad,
Cool.
But we tell her like, yeah, you have two dads, and we have like a bunch of books and stuff that we read to her that like, it's basically just like some people have, literally the book is like, some people have two moms and some people have two dads, and that's okay. And, everyone's different. And it's just, we've been trying to like do that with her, especially just to tell her like, because, we'll be watching something and something's a little different. And we're trying to be like, it's okay to be different, skin color, gender, sexual orientation, whatever you want to do, you can be whatever you want. She's like, okay. And so now she goes around the house saying, and that's okay to everything. Aww. So she like has an accident or, something, and that's okay. I'm like, you're right, it's okay. So everything's okay, she says. Everything's great. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's so funny.
Yes.
I look forward to the day where, all of that is more fairly represented, and kids can actually see that on media, all the things where family, like there is the two moms and a son, or the the non-binary person and whomever, and maybe they're a single parent with the kid, like, I mean, just all those kinds of combinations. It's just it drives me crazy. I can't believe how in a way, like how still stuck in those what am I trying to say, those ways that we have been for so long that are still there. But it's great that there's books now out there, it sounds like.
Tons. Yeah. I didn't know about them when we first got her. She was 6 days old. So we were just like, having a newborn, waking up every 2 hours at night, and that was all fun. But now that she's really starting to like understand things, and it's just so funny. She like plays by herself, and she like has this imagination now. And there are so many books out there, even just like toddler books and kids books for like blended families, different families with different color people in their family. And
that's beautiful.
Cool. Yeah,
that's really, really sweet.
Of children, because I think it could be a good segue into what it was like when you were a child. Where did this? Because we'll go into cooking a bit.
Yeah.
Where did the passion for cooking come from? Like, was it? I feel like I heard that it was quite young, and you started, in a restaurant at 14 or 15 years old, and it's just kind of like been all you've been doing then, unless I'm.
Pretty much. So I don't know how your school systems were, but we had a class called Foods and Nutrition, which was like home ec kind of. They like changed the name from home ec to Foods and Nutrition. And that was pretty young. I feel like that was in like middle school maybe. And that's kind of where I really started to be like, because I tried to play sports when I was younger. So it was like the towns, like our town had like town sports, and it was very like non-political fun, kids just playing. getting exercise. And then when you got to like middle school and high school, it becomes very like political and like who's the best. And I was not the best by any stretch of the imagination, but I enjoyed it. But I was like, I didn't have that one thing that I was really good at, or that I was like passionate. I didn't have any passion really. And also I was like dealing with the fact that I was gay, and I was really like looking for that like escape. And I think that the kitchen became, well, food as well, eating became like a comfort for me. And it still is, actually, eating is a comfort for me, but it definitely was like that escape that I could have. And my mom was a great cook growing up, so I had her there. And then I started cooking meals at home for my family. And then in high school, there was, we had actually a culinary class. So it was like two blocks or 2 periods, or, 2 classes worth once a week. But that was really fun. And then, I got my first line cook job at 15 or 16. And then I went from there. I kind of just was like, this is what I'm good at, and this is what I enjoy doing. So I'm going to run with it and hope for the best.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you never a time that you changed, like, wow.
Yeah, I thought that, when I was really little, I liked animals, and I thought all things, but then I think it was like 8th grade where for some reason I had this like epiphany where I was like, I want to go to Johnson and Wales, and Johnson and Wales is a college, and it's a really well-known like culinary school. And I didn't end up going there, but I went to culinary school still. But, I always had it like in my head, like, this is what I'm going to do. And I kind of just stayed on that trajectory. And then because there was really nothing else, like I liked other things, like I tried to dabble in, like, I was in like the crew for like my drama club in high school. And I was like, I don't know. And then nothing really stuck. I didn't feel like I belonged in any of those places. Like it was fun, but I was kind of like, but yeah. And then I just kept cooking. And even it was like at my house, it wasn't really like until I got into working in restaurants that I really was like, okay, this is what I want to do.
Wow.
Totally.
Yeah.
One thing I'm curious about as well, and I really hope it's not that big of a deal, but what was it like being gay in a kitchen? Like, is there any sense of homophobia in the culinary realm? Because there are a lot of LGBTQ people in the culinary industry in all walks of life, but I'm curious to know, in the time that you were going into the industry in the field and stuff, did you face any discrimination for simply sexuality or not at all?
I almost feel like it was, I didn't come out until I was 21. So when I got my first line cook job, I was 16. And then I went to college and still wasn't out. It was in culinary school, and I stayed 2 more years and got my bachelor's in like hospitality, and still didn't come out. And then I was 21 when I'd come home from school, and I kind of was figuring things out, and I got my first like real like job after college. And that's kind of where I started realizing it was closer to the city. So the closest city to me is Boston, Massachusetts. And it's a very liberal city, and everyone's really like, just really cool. It's just a cool place to live. And I was working down there at the time. And when I did come out, surprisingly, it wasn't an issue. It almost became more of like, not a joke that I was gay, but like, it became like, kitchens are very inappropriate with their humor and very dirty and very like, it's just not, it's an HR nightmare. So it was more of like that side of it than it was like, because there's so many, my chef at the time was a woman. So like, and that's who I looked up to. Her name's Chef Mary Dumont. She's amazing. And so there was already like a woman in an executive chef role, and she hired people from all walks of life. So I really think that was like the perfect place for me. But I would say it was more like inappropriate more than like discrimination.
Yeah.
It was more like sexualized that I was gay. I don't know why people, I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
I wonder if that's kind of like almost akin to being a woman in the kitchen, sort of.
Yeah, maybe. I think that people looked at her. I feel like women sometimes feel like they have to put on like a hard exterior, especially in the restaurant industry, because at the time there wasn't as many openly gay or queer people in that role. And she is also gay. So it was really nice to see her. She also had like a wife, and she had like that life that I was like, oh, like she has it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's like what I wanted to do. And, so it was nice to look up to her and have that representation. I find myself gravitating towards a lot of female chefs when I was working for people, or the chefs would have to be like really nice or like understanding, because I never worked at a place where like Chef Ramsay, for instance, would be like the chef screaming at me. I want to enjoy my craft and not have anxiety about it.
Yeah.
So all the places I've chosen to work at, where I sought them out, and I had like an interview. They call it staging, which is basically just like a working interview in a kitchen, and kind of test it out and, you know, just see how you feel. And I've definitely gravitated towards more women chefs because I just feel like it's just different. But
Yeah.
So with that being said, and I wasn't gonna like, and maybe Hero, no, he's kind of going like this. I think sometimes we have the same brain. With that being said, I wasn't gonna really ask about Chef Ramsay necessarily in that way, but you kind of brought it up just with the, it seems like there's a lot of polarizing opposites from what you were maybe used to in the kitchen and then going to Hell's Kitchen and then somebody who is literally screaming at you. So how did you deal with that? I mean, for myself, I am like an empath and I also like feed on other people's energy. Like, was that hard for you? How?
it was. I mean, I went from, I seemed like a different person at the time. Like if I see clips back, I'm like, I don't even recognize myself in a way, because even though I was out at the time, I still had such anxiety revolving around my sexuality.
Yeah.
And even sometimes still I do, because I just almost like go back to that place when I was younger of like being in school and being young, and like whether it be bullying or people saying stuff to me, I still have that like on my shoulder almost. That really hasn't gone away, but it's definitely been put way in the back burner now that I'm an adult and I'm confident in myself and my situation and my job, and you know, everything's coming into place. But yeah, at the time I'm 32 now. I think I was 24, 25 when I first went on the show. And I didn't have a ton of experience in restaurants. I did, but not like some of the people were already executive chefs, and I had just become a sous chef at the time. So yeah, I hadn't gone on a plane in like 15 years prior to that. I hadn't traveled alone. I was very much like a homebody. Like now I'm the opposite, but at the time I wasn't secure or confident in myself. And then I think Hell's Kitchen in a way helped make me more independent, because it kind of forced me out of my comfort zone. Was like, you're going to go fly to LA. You've never been to California before. You're going to fly by yourself. They took my cell phone at the airport.
Oh,
You're going to stay with 16 other people you don't know from all walks of life, and you're going to get screamed at. So it was very much like just,
and also
into it.
And also a complete like violation of any privacy, any confidence, because you're on ice. You can't say shit unless if you're being filmed. All the stuff in reality production, which I'm very familiar with.
On ice, I forgot about that one.
Yeah,
that's well, I mean, they said that a lot. Nick on ice, and I was like, oh, sorry, because that's when I talk to people and gab and like.
I know. It's very isolating in some ways, despite the fact that you're with everyone going through the same experience. You know, because I'm a reality TV addict, and it's interesting because Rachel said, "No, Hero, like reach out to people," and I'm like, I don't know who to reach out to, and then something kind of went off, and I thought, wait a second, I've been watching reality shows since I was 8. Since Survivor. I've been like competitive reality nerd my whole life, and so obviously when you think about LGBT people, that and I'm a few years younger than you, so like watching you on the show, for example, I was already old enough to not feel like, oh, like I'm looking up to people for being a role model. But when I saw someone like yourself on a show that was so polarized, it's quite heteronormative, probably up until around that point of the franchise, it was nice to see someone that was represented in such a light that even if it might have been, and hopefully it wasn't overly edited, I don't think you would have been edited too much, because you're just who you are, you're real.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right. And some people are like, you could tell people that are really there for the glitz and the glam, and people who are really just there to do their job and to actually make a living for themselves as a professional culinary professional. You were someone that represented themselves as authentically as they are. And again, that's why I said in our Instagram messaging, I'm not surprised the fact that you reached back out, that you were so sincere, because because you come across from that one-to-one perspective, right? So it's nice to see someone that's on the show. And also, like, I've been a fan of Gordon Ramsay since, I don't know, I was maybe 10, I guess, like whenever Hell's Kitchen came on, and doing like school presentations about him, and watching all of his shows and stuff, like really like cute little fanboy. And then you see Christina Williamson, and you see someone that, again, perfect example, queer, powerful, represented on the show, poster child in the best term of light possible, and then showing people in the queer community that you can be female, you can be strong, you can be bold, you can be a badass bitch, and then you can also be a queer male and be a badass bitch and be gentle. You can be successful. So because again, we like to get to know our guests behind what they're known for. But with that being said, in the context of what I just said and being on a reality production, can you kind of talk to us what your process was like being brought on the show, and then your inner psychology through both seasons? Because I'm sure that must have been kind of a throwback to go on to 2 seasons and quite close together, right?
Yeah, so it was season 14 originally, and then it was season 17. I feel like it was only maybe 3 years difference between the ending of the show and then filming the next one. And thank you for saying that, because I am who I am, right? And so on TV, what you get right now is how I would talk to the other contestants and stuff. And because maybe I was naive, I watched the show a little bit, and I was a fan of Gordon Ramsay's, and I knew he was going to yell at me, and I knew that it would be like that. But being in it was just like totally different. But I feel like season 14 Nick and season 17 Nick are like complete opposites. I was just so unsure of myself, and I think that, like you said, it came with being gay, and I actually don't think that there's been an openly gay male winner of Hell's Kitchen. And Chef Christina is amazing, and I still keep in contact with her on social media, and she's doing great big things with him. She's like way up there now. But so I kind of was like, this is my chance, especially on All Stars. I think I kind of was like, okay, I'm going into season 17 a little bit differently. I went in there saying, if I'm going to go back and be put through this again, I'm going to win. Whereas season 14, it was like, oh, let's go and see what happens. It was more like fun. Yeah. So the process to get on season 14 was wild. And I mean, reality TV, so I'm assuming you probably heard some weird stuff that goes on, but like, I think it was very odd for me, at least, I guess, because it was my first time ever auditioning or being interviewed for something like that. Yeah. So they called me, and I was actually in P-Town with my now husband. We were just dating at the time, and I'd never been to P-Town before. And he's like, I want to take you there and you experience it. This is Provincetown, Massachusetts. And
I know.
Thank you for educating us Canadians, because we only
it's a big. So if you ever come, it's a big gay scene there. And it's like everyone goes there, and it's this big thing. And I'd never been. I felt sheltered, so we went. And someone called me. I don't know I actually forget who the person was, and they just were like, "Hey, we're looking for Boston-based chefs, not necessarily me, but just chefs in general. We came across your Facebook page," and I was like, "Okay." And they like DM me and were like, "Hey, do you want to try out for Hell's Kitchen?" And I thought it was a scam, honestly. I was like, I don't know, it's sketchy. I'm not going to show up to a restaurant in Boston by myself. But after talking on the phone with him, plus I was a little drunk at the time. I was in P-Town. I was living it up, and I was like, "Yeah, sure. When I get back, I'll come." So I followed through and went, and it was actually an open casting call. So it was at a restaurant, and I walked in, and it's really like 50 other people in there. And there was 2 people. I don't know who they were. We walked up one by one and maybe had like a minute-long conversation with them. Okay. And they either said yes to a callback or no, like that's it. And so they gave me a callback, and I was kind of surprised, and I was like, okay, like sweet. I guess that's the next step. And then I went to it was like the next day or the 2 days later, I went to a hotel room in Boston. This is where it gets weird. And it was in a suite with like lights. And I was like, is this a porn shoot, or is this, am I auditioning for? What am I auditioning for is really what I want to know. It was weird. And so they taped me on camera, and then they sent that to the producers, and then I had to wait. And then the producer said, okay, we're going to fly. It was me and a bunch of other people, fly them out to meet them in person. So I flew from Boston to LA by myself again, and I was just staying in a hotel room by myself, and they interviewed us on camera again, but in front of like 10 producers. So I was like shitting myself. I was like, I've never done anything like this before. So to get up in front of 10 people that are producers of a Fox reality TV show to like talk to them, like my anxieties, my heart's racing. I was scared. I was scared.
I would be too.
Yeah. And then they took like, and I guess hindsight, I should have known that I had already been probably casted on the show at that point, but I didn't know. I mean, they like took our blood. They like private investigator we had to talk to.
Psych testing, all that, right?
STD testing, drug testing, private investigator. Like they asked me questions about like my childhood and like, my work. And is there any naked pictures of you online and all this stuff? Are you going to embarrass the show? So there was a lot of weird stuff that went on like before I got on the show. But I think that might just be like standard practice for a lot of these shows.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, I think it's still like that, because we had Chef Mary Lou on, who's on the current season.
Yeah, she was sweet.
Oh God, we adore her. But just like yourself, like you guys are
you're real.
Like it's interesting. But what I was going to say is that she said the same kind of process. Like she was DM'd by somebody, and she's like, "Is this real? Like, what the fuck is this?" Is this
Those are casting agents, talent producers.
Yeah.
And just like she was saying, like, even close to where I guess she should have thought, like, okay, I'm in. She still didn't.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, this is all probably just standard. They're just taking my blood in a hotel room. But
You were
looking back, I'm like, I didn't question anything.
You were
The hotel room is a bit odd, actually.
It was a hotel room, yeah. So like everything
odd.
that we did took place in this hotel in LA. So it was like everything was done like, okay, so I had to go to like, they were like, all right, you're gonna go. They called me on my room phone and we're like, go to room 202, whatever it was. And I went and had like a physical by a person in a hotel room. It was very strange.
I can imagine like in a ballroom, like kind of in a holding area, like in the lobby of a hotel, sure, but like a private room?
Because I think we stayed the weekend.
Yeah.
So I was there for like 1 night, 2 days or something. So I stayed overnight.
Okay.
And so then I'm also thinking like all the other contestants were scattered throughout the hotel.
They would have been, it would have been a group screening.
Yes, it was a group thing. So it was a lot of us there. So thinking back, I'm like, oh, I saw some certain people like on my season, or I saw people that were on the season before mine because they casted for 2 seasons back to back.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, so which I thought was interesting too, because on season 14, I had to wait 1.5 years from the time I filmed it until it aired.
Oh,
so
a year and a half.
They showed season 13 first, and then that went through, and then they took a break, and then they showed season 14. So I was like, here I am, like it's being shown, and I filmed it 1.5 years ago. It was really weird. But
that's bizarre though, because you're not even the same person back then either.
No,
especially after.
Even just from the 1.5 years, it was different.
No, yeah, exactly. And people like us that grow every day and that we don't just stay stagnant, to be that delayed in production to post-production, and then the public eye to realize maybe they don't know who that person is yet, unless if they're in your industry, and then they're like, oh yeah, okay, I know Nick, like, oh yeah, it's great. No, people.
Yeah. It was wild.
Psychologically, I'm just thinking like.
Oh yeah. Well, wasn't it like it's funny because now it feels like we're starting to get a lot of reality TV people on the show, which is fun. It's great.
Yeah.
Maddie Cameron, who is Scarlett Bobo and a drag on Canada's Drag Race.
I saw that season.
Did you? Okay.
Yes.
So
yeah, I did.
Well, as Maddie was on our show, and he was saying when he was, I don't know if you listened to any of it, but he, would go into a hotel room when he first got there by himself and talk about psychological. He was by himself, like you said, no cell phone, no whatever. And he like had a breakdown. He literally was just like, I fucking like, this is like, was crying and just get out of bed in the morning. And just, I mean, I can't, was it very as secluded as that?
So we were alone in the hotel rooms.
Yeah.
And we didn't have our phones and anything like that. But then, like, I guess the one difference from Drag Race is that correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure. They don't live together, right?
No, they're sequestered. You guys share a house. You have a social community.
So the house that we shared, so if you look at house, so like on season 17 All Stars, it was a giant, do you guys have Costco or BJ's?
Yeah. BJ's no, but Inquiring Minds want to know, but Costco, yes.
Yes. Costco, it's like similar. BJ's is another similar thing around here, but it was basically an old Costco like warehouse building that they converted into Hell's Kitchen.
Right, that's what I was wondering.
Behind the scenes.
Yes.
So we would literally be cooking with, being screamed at, and out the back door of the kitchen, we would literally go up the steps to our dorms that had no ceilings, that had like lights and cameras, and so it was like a fake dorm. So like we literally lived there. But our ceilings didn't go all the way up. You know what I mean? So like the next room, you could hear everyone laughing. And so I think I shared a room with 3 other people in my room. So it's 4 guys total. And it was like guys room, girls room, guys room, girls room.
Yeah.
And then we shared 2 showers and 3 toilets. So you can imagine in the beginning of that process when we're there.
16 of you.
Yes. With 3 toilets. This is men, women. We're sharing 2 sinks. It's just a lot going on. And I think after the first week, I was like, okay, I don't care anymore about like, there was no privacy. So I was like, whatever. And I guess I could agree. Is it Maddie or Scarlett Bob? Was that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I can agree with like being like, this is mentally crazy. And I think a lot of people on the show felt that. And there was a lot of tears, not from me, but from other people. I don't know why. I just kind of, for me, it was like going in, I was like, okay, I'm going to be uncomfortable. This is going to be anxiety inducing. I could either flourish and do well, or I could, cry and be upset and be like, I want to go home. I can't do this anymore. So whenever I see people now, I should say now, going on TV and I gotta go, I can't do this. I'm like, you gotta expect something going into it.
Yeah.
That it's not going to be comfortable. Of course it's not. It's a high pressure situation. I'm living with 16 other people I've never met before and working with them. So it's like, or if you've ever worked with someone and dated someone at the same time, that's kind of what it was like.
Yeah.
Constantly together, 24/7, literally
Yeah.
24/7. So people,
Yeah, very different from Drag Race.
It is different. It's a different kind of production, though. Which is what we're getting at, is that you got productions like Survivor, Big Brother, Hell's Kitchen. What are some other shows? Project Runway, actually, as well, like where they're in lofts or shared units. Top Chef, they have a house, like and then you got productions like, as you were talking about, Drag Race, or honestly, that's the only one that comes to mind immediately in terms of being sequestered as individual, because that's how the show is set up. Like, if you put 16 queens in a house together, holy shit, you might as well just...
That would be scary.
Just move it to MTV. Yeah, just move it to, like, just Kai Kai's Drag Race, move it to MTV, like, seriously, or CW, or whatever, VH1. I think so, too. We should totally apply for it. I could be Kosher Pickle.
I love it.
But one thing I'm curious about, again, and not from the angle of like, oh, like you were on Hell's Kitchen, but from the angle of being the human psychology, like, who Nick is in association to this production. What was it like in terms of the different segments of the show? Because I know we kind of talked to Mary Lou a little about it, but like they break it down. It's a formula, right? But so, like, does it take a certain length of time for each of these productions? Like, because you're doing a live dinner service, correct? Like,
yes.
But again, it was a warehouse, so it was staged in a sense, right? Whereas in the current season, they're actually in the restaurant, so I'm assuming it's a real service. So that's a formula change of the show. So that's what I was asking Rachel, and she's like, I don't know. So, like, did it feel real? Like, did it feel like a simulation, or?
It did. It felt real because the people that were dining were real people. Like I after the show, like there was just someone I'm mutually friends with on Facebook was like, oh, I got the chance to go be a guest on Hell's Kitchen. So it's kind of like you almost like sign up for it and get on a waiting list kind of deal, I think, which is to be in the audience. And, they tell you you're not guaranteed to eat, obviously, because if he kicks you out, you're not going to eat. But from what I gathered is that they bring you all to like a big room or a big tent, and they give you whatever wine or beer or alcohol you want and get you like happy and good. And then you get ushered into the restaurant, and then dinner service begins. So I don't think you pay because if you don't eat, you know what I mean? So it felt real because I knew people were going to be eating the food that we were making, and it was like, we wanted to do a good job.
Right.
But yeah, I think everyone has a different experience, or everyone perceives things differently. Like I think my experience is probably different than Mary Lou's, and it was very interesting from my perspective. Like I said, like I was just myself, and I think the one thing that if anyone who's listening to this who wants to go on reality TV, you have to be nice to the crew and the people doing your interviews and someone putting your mic on, and that's their job. And I did see other contestants kind of be like annoyed, and I'm like, this is a TV show. I don't know what you thought was going to happen. You're gonna have people would get annoyed, or like in confessionals, they were like, oh, we didn't want to talk. I don't want to talk about today, or I don't want to talk about that. I'm like, I was always to be like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Because you're on a TV show at the end of the day. Yes, you want to work for Chef Ramsay and that whole shebang. But at the end of the day, this is a TV show. And I think that's the one thing that I took away is you have to, I treated everyone with respect, and I became friendly with people behind the set, and people interview you every single day. And so you have like a relationship with them. Yeah. I think everyone perceives things differently. I had a really good experience, especially the second time around on All Stars. I had a really positive experience. Obviously it was stressful, and obviously I wanted to go home at some point, but I was like, all right, I'm over this. But in my head, I'm like, I'm here to win. And that's what I wanted to do. So I could see how people would, everyone perceives things differently too. Yeah.
And also you made it far. I think you were final 5 on season 14 and you were final 3 on season 17. So you spent a lot of, what I'm getting at is that you spent a lot of time actually on the production, even if you had to stay there after you were eliminated, which I'm guessing you had to because of confidentiality, but you were still there. So like to be psychologically in that process, right? It's a lot because we see that in weekly, but it's about a month, I'm guessing, in recording, give or take.
So season 14 was 5 weeks, and then season 17 was only 3 weeks. So there was a lot more packed into a short amount of time.
Right.
Oh,
and
shit.
I almost feel like we were so busy that I didn't have time to be upset or worried or sad. You know what I mean? There was no opportunity to be like, let me sit with my feelings and let me like you said, psychologically, when you think of how I feel, I almost didn't have that time.
No, it
Which I'm
comes
kind of
after.
glad about, to be honest, because I think if I then had downtime, like Scarlett Bobo was, like you said, she was in her hotel room. If I was in my hotel room alone, it probably would make it worse, to be honest. But I think
Yeah.
they kept us so busy that, and they wore us, like, don't get me wrong, it was very challenging. It was nonstop, 24/7, like we're being filmed. And they always kept us busy too. So like we wake up, we go do something, then it was like a challenge, and then there was like the reward or the punishment. And then at night there was dinner service. So it was like nonstop all day.
Yeah.
So yeah, psychologically, I think I could see how that could get to people. I had a blast on season 17. I mean, I got to do things I never would have done in my normal life, and
Yeah.
it helped push me even more out of my comfort zone and just help build me as a person. And so I will say season 14 definitely helped me with independence, but I was way more anxiety ridden on season 14. I think there was a lot more anxiety. I missed home. I was kind of like, okay, like this is wild, you know? But yeah, obviously everyone has to deal with things differently. But when I went back for the second time, I think I was prepared mentally to do it again. Whereas the first time I wasn't prepared to not have my phone and not talk to anybody, and not, like, I knew it was going to happen, but until it happened, I was like, oh shit, I really have no one to talk to except for these other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just out of curiosity, so were you with your husband? Was he your fiance since season what? The first season of season
14? No, we were just dating.
Okay.
And we had just moved in together as well. So it was very interesting to like not talk to him for 5 weeks, especially since we had just moved in together. But yeah, I mean, they would call our family and say like, he's alive, he's doing well, he's fine. And that's it basically. So like they did keep in contact with them. And I guess they did say like, if you have anything you want to tell them, that's like very important, but they wouldn't be like, oh, your husband says he loves you. They just would be like, everyone's happy, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Keep working, keep doing you. So
yeah. And then I'm curious to know, because with your catering business that you have, so was that always the dream to have, or what was your kind of like, I don't want to say end goal, but what was your dream, your culinary dream? Was it to have a catering business? I mean, I know now you've got a YouTube channel, but I feel like just with the times, everyone's kind of pivoting to doing what they can do now too.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, I think my goals have definitely pivoted in terms, I mean, with COVID, I think a lot of social media and online media content is just huge right now because people aren't going out and doing things, which is understandable. I used to say I wanted to open a restaurant. That was like my goal. And it definitely veered away when I worked in restaurants that were opening, like they hadn't quite opened yet. And like I was hired to like open with them. And I was like, I can't do that, because I knew in the back of my brain that I did want to have a family someday and I wanted to have freedom. And when you open a restaurant, you just don't have that freedom. You have to be there 24/7. And I didn't want my relationship to falter or the prospects of having a family to be put in the back burner because of starting a restaurant. And some people are like, oh, that's like your dream, but it was my dream. My dream's changed since then. I'm enjoying my catering company. It's definitely working way more for my life. And since I'm the co-owner, I can also, we can, now that we have gotten busier, we can pick and choose like, okay, we can't do this event. Or sometimes it's like, oh, hey, their budget's too low, which is always nice. Cause we took a lot in the beginning of we basically did every event that was thrown at us in the beginning just to get our name out there. I don't know what my end goal is. Honestly, I think after my experiences on Hell's Kitchen, I would love to do more TV and more food media type things. I had a blast. Like I said, season 17 was like unreal to me. I had so much fun and I got so close with like some of the cast and the crew, and people were so cool and like welcoming and accepting. And I loved it. So I think probably more TV type stuff is in my future.
Yes.
Yeah. But as of right now, my day-to-day job, yes, I do own a catering company. It is really fun, but I think ultimately I'd like to do more food media type stuff.
How is it with the catering company during COVID? Because I know like before you hopped on, Hero and I were just saying how, I mean, every country is handling things differently. We don't have to talk about the US as a whole because we all know.
Not good. It's scary.
I know. And it's interesting because in Canada, I swear we get more US news than we do about Canadian news. Like we know, or I don't know if you knew that, but like
not good stuff either.
I mean, unfortunately not, but
I didn't think so. You know what it is? This country's crazy. There's so, I mean, not to get political, but like the past president and everything that happened from there, it was almost like embarrassing to be like, oh, I'm from the States. It's like, oh, like I don't want to tell people that now because it's a mess. It's a mess. So what would first happened, we literally the day I remember, I also had a part-time job bartending for extra cash. And I remember that day that they were like, we have to close because of COVID. Like we can't have anyone else in here. I kind of looked at my business partner. I was like, we need to do something because people aren't going to be booking events or weddings. People are going to reschedule and wait till next year. So we started doing like curbside takeout meals and menus, and it ended up working out. So I have to say we're really lucky that we haven't lost really any money. Everyone's either rescheduled, postponed something, or we use their money. They use their money towards a smaller event or something like that. So we've been really lucky in that sense. And a lot of restaurants have had to close and businesses have had to close, and it sucks, but we've been really lucky that we haven't had to do that. I think if I had owned a restaurant now, probably would have closed, Yeah.
So. Well, it's funny. It's because I was just saying to Hero before you popped on, I was like, well, it's the States. So they're probably all just, having big events and doing that anyway, because that's what we see.
Yeah, I know. It's so bad. So Massachusetts is at least, they're a little more like strict. They're way more liberal, obviously, Massachusetts is, but they're also a little more strict, which is a good thing. So I think it's 10 people inside and it's 25 people outside. It's still pretty strict in Massachusetts, which is where my company's based out of. But New Hampshire is like, it's a free for all. I mean, their like slogan is "Live free or die." Literally, that's what New Hampshire's like state slogan is.
Wow.
It's a whole different. It's so funny because it's maybe from my house to New Hampshire, it's maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but it's just like a whole different. So people are trying to reschedule their weddings in New Hampshire. And I'm like, that's defeating the purpose.
Totally.
Just because they're doing it doesn't mean you should do it too, Yeah. Like those rules are put in place to protect people. So we've been really cautious about, people have tried to book us for things at their home that are way too big. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't want to be that caterer that then is now associated with a COVID breakout or something like that. You know what I mean? So you have to be really careful. And we've been really careful in terms of like what events we choose to do because people are crazy. They want to do whatever they want to do. And I'm like, find someone else to do it, but we're not going to do it,
Yeah, so. for sure. And then in terms of your catering status, and I'm not sure if it is, has your presence of being a TV personality, has that helped to gain and to build a clientele for you or not so much?
It did initially. So when when Hell's Kitchen, the All Stars was airing, that's when our company really started gearing up. So we had talked, my business partner and I talked about it. We actually met at a restaurant. She was my like day of coordinator for my wedding. And that's how we ended up meeting. And so that's how we partnered up. And we were lucky enough that it was basically, we're naive. The timing, we didn't realize. I'm like, oh, my show is about to start airing. We're starting a company. This is perfect timing. Yeah. And it ended up working out because before we even like became an official LLC and company, we started booking events. So we took the money from the deposits to then put it towards becoming have an LLC. And so we basically were smart with the money. We didn't have to put any money down of our own. We just kind of were like smart with the timing, and it was like perfect timing, honestly. So yeah, we definitely did get some events from me being on Hell's Kitchen because it was airing as we were really starting to book events. And I still think today it definitely helps. It definitely helps a little bit to say that you're on national TV and you worked with Gordon Ramsay and people get excited about that still. So
yeah, for sure. But it's in the end of the day, it's a matter about your product. You can have whatever accolade and status you want, but if you're a dick or what your product is shit, then it's not going to go anywhere after the first experience,
That's true.
So,
well, it'll be this kind of explosion, and then usually kind of, for a better word, with your name, Peter off or Peter out.
I know.
It's interesting though, because what Hero was saying a little bit earlier about just your vibe and your persona. When I think of Hell's Kitchen, you're one of the few contestants that I still remember that I will always, and it's because it's true. Like, and I'm not a huge reality TV show buff like Hero is, but for some reason, you stick in people's minds. So
that's very sweet. Thank you.
It's true. So I mean, hopefully that's also helped.
I mean, I'd like to think so. I mean, it still is odd to me that what's funny recently is that in the Philippines, I guess they maybe it was a couple months ago. It must have just ended airing there, which I think is so weird because to me, it's like, it's been so long. It feels so long. And people, it was like an all of a sudden like influx of like thousands of followers that I gained, and I was so confused. And I was like, it was like 100, 200 a day. And I was like, what am I? I'm just posting my regular content. Then I started getting messages from people, which have been so sweet. Like the nicest people that have ever messaged me. Like it's like, it's too much. So, you know what I mean? Like they're so nice. I'm like, okay, you're giving me too much credit, but thank you.
Yeah.
It was like, it was crazy. And it was all from the Philippines,
Interesting.
Malaysia, Singapore. People were like reaching out being like, we just finished watching the show and we love you. And just really, really, really sweet things. So I've been lucky in that regard that I haven't gotten too much backlash on social media like some people do. And then maybe that's just a testament to me being myself on TV and, you know, how I am as a person. But obviously you're going to get people that don't like you, and that's okay. And that's okay.
That's part of
Everyone's going to like you, you know? That's fine.
It's reality.
I often think about how I would react to that. Like, have you, you know, like just, I mean, we obviously we want to grow our podcast more, and, you know, just as you start to get some bizarre comments or trolls or things like that, have you had to deal with anything like that?
On season 14, I think a little bit more. I was more excited to be in the show, and I was looking at comments, and it wasn't personally on my social media. It was more like on like YouTube, like the episodes we went on YouTube, and then it was like YouTube comments. But now, I mean, I don't have time to do that anymore. No. And I've been lucky that I don't have time to sit there and hunt for, especially now that I'm a child, I don't have time to hunt for like bad comments about myself. Like, what's the point? Just to make me feel bad. Yeah. And I also really don't care. So it's kind of like, I mean, back then I did, but now I don't. So now it's like, if someone doesn't like me, that's totally okay, because I get it. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I may annoy some people, and, you know, I get that. I'm annoyed by people too. We're all human, you know. Well, it's true. You know, we're all human. We may see someone on TV that we're like, I don't love them, but I think maybe the reason why people do genuinely seem to like me is because the person that I was on TV is the same person that I am talking to you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that, and I don't know if that's just because, I don't know why that is. That's just who I am. But I don't know if people decided to change who they were or like amplify it for the TV show. Because, you know, people do have larger than life personalities on that show. And sometimes it seems forced. But I was just myself. So I don't know.
The camera will do something to people. And they were like, oh, no, I'm whatever. And then, but production people know that, though. Yeah. They know when they get people. Because if you had 16 Nicks on the show, it would be an amazing documentary. Right. Yes. You know, but if you have 16 Jens on the show, it's going to be just like the Wendy Williams show meets Maury Povich. Right. It's not going to work.
The balance. That's a balance.
Exactly.
And they're smart with casting. Like, All Stars was great because there were so many, you know, great chefs there. So I knew it was going to be a really good season. But, you know, in season 14, I would say even the season now, to be honest, the people that like, so I've been watching it and doing Instagram lives, watching it. And I wasn't going to do that. I was like, I don't know, because watching it gives me anxiety because it brings back a lot of memories for me.
PTSD, yeah.
Literally PTSD. And we even had to like talk to our therapist after we left the show, which I think is so funny. Like before we went home, they like made us talk to someone to make sure we were okay. And I was like, I'm fine. Like, let me go home. But yeah, it's interesting. The whole thing is just crazy.
That's, you know, that's smart on their part though, to do that. I think that it is. They're covering their ass in like all angles. Yeah. Something I don't want to forget to ask you about, and I was trying, I didn't mean to like not look at you. I was looking at my mind, this competition that you're a part of right now that I think the voting starts today.
It starts in 9 minutes.
Yes. Oh my God. Perfect timing.
Yes. So basically, again, this is another thing that I forget. Sometimes I forget how things just happen. I don't know. I forget if they messaged me or I messaged them, but it's called, it's like Fave Chef on Instagram. It's like at Fave Chef. And it was an email. And basically the competition is like an online based competition just solely based on votes. Like I have you have like a profile picture and a few like food dishes that you've done. Yeah. And it's like a little profile about you. And it's, the winner gets a spread in Bon Appetit magazine and then $20,000. Oh, so I was like, you know what? I was robbed on All Stars. I was like, maybe I can actually win something. Like,
yes, you were.
Third time's a charm. So I'm hoping that, so the voting opens in like, now it's 8 minutes.
Oh my God.
I'm excited, but I've also seen a lot of other contestants from Hell's Kitchen now coming out of the woodwork. going for that title too. So I'm very curious to see how this will play out. But
Okay, so okay, I'm sorry, Nick, you walked right into this, so I've got to raise my mug. Okay, so you said you were kind of ripped on 17.
I never would have season 14. I never would have said that because I didn't think that I honestly, when I met Megan, who was the winner of season 14.
Oh yeah, Megan, yeah.
She was just mature, experienced, poised in the kitchen. She just had her shit together. And I looked up to her and I was like, oh, she's going to be in the top 2, if not win.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of get a sense for that in certain seasons where you're like, this person's like, I almost feel like the less time you're showed in the beginning, the better you do in the end.
Yeah.
I don't know how reality TV works, but it always seems like they always feature people heavily when they're doing bad and then they go home.
It's the story. It's the storyline.
It's the story. They make it very dramatic and so the people fade into the background, like Megan, where she didn't get as much airtime, but she was leaps and bounds better than I was at that time. And I could recognize that. And I didn't think going into Hell's Kitchen season 14, I was going to win. But when I got just top 5, I was like, oh shit, like, not bad. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
Considering all my anxiety and everything I was going through. But yeah, season 17 was a whole different thing for me. And there was like behind the scenes talk that like the guy said the wrong name and it was supposed to be me. Like, and I heard these rumors from like some of the crew and I was like, don't even tell me that because if it was right, well, then it shows that it's pre-planned or predestined.
Yeah.
But you know what? I honestly thought there was an episode on All Stars where it was like Michelle and I, it was a challenge and we both were last left in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So it was like one by one, someone left the kitchen. And then the last 2 standing were Michelle and I was like, if this isn't foreshadowing, then I don't know what is, because they were all helping us and we were the last 2 in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I was like, okay, I kind of see the angle maybe they'd be going with because we were friends, we still are friends, and like us pitting against each other would be like a really great finale. And then Benjamin was announced as the other person in the final 2, and I was shook. Like, I tried to hold it in, like in terms of like my emotions on the show, but once I left, once they like put me in, like after we were done filming, they put me in like a van by myself. I was like, I need 5 minutes to myself because they were going to put me in the van with the other contestants. So if you guys see like on the finale, it's like Michelle and Benjamin chose their teams.
Yeah.
And so all the contestants were coming from Sequester. So they were all staying together at some hotel or something like that. And then they were going to like dump me in the van with them. And I was like, I need 10 minutes to myself, please. Thanks.
Yeah, no kidding.
I was like, I've been very cooperative with everyone on set and I've been doing all the interviews you guys want me to do. I was like, I just need 10 minutes to like breathe because I was so pissed. And I didn't think I would be like that, but I was really upset.
No, it's the worst part again, and you can see it because you get knocked out, and then all of a sudden you have to come right back, and then you have to support the people, and then it's even worse if you're put on the person's team that even if you like both people, you want to be on one person's team, and they put you on the opposing team because you're like, fuck, right? Because it just gives you the rise, it gives you the story.
I don't ever want any of our guests to get into shit for what they talk about. So my question is, are you allowed to say these things about what happens?
Yeah, I mean, our contract is over at this point. So like, I think it's for a year or so after.
It's a year, yeah.
It's a contract. And so, but it's like a heavy contract. So I could say like I was on the show and stuff like that, but now it's kind of like I can say whatever I want, but I also choose not to say everything because I almost feel like I don't want to slight those people that were in the crew or be like, behind the scenes, because it is a really good experience. So people should do it. I still think people should go try out for Hell's Kitchen if they want to. I think it's a really amazing experience. But it's how you deal with it when you get there is what really will change your time there. It's you could either choose to be a force and really go for it and really try your hardest, or you can let the stress and anxiety get to you, and then you see people on TV crumble under pressure. So I think I didn't think I was that strong of a person, but then going back for All Stars, I was like, I can do this. You know, I could win this show. But yeah, I'm allowed to talk about stuff like this now. They don't say like, you can tell people things now, but
no. Kind
of like the contract's over, so it is what it is.
They have to expect it. And also people that want that kind of fame, it's also negative attention, right? If it gets negative attention, and even if it builds their brand, it still is negative attention because you're basically saying, I did this, but I'm going to tell you everything that was behind the scenes because, you know, I want to get my 15 minutes of fame, and there are attention seekers that want that energy. Whereas it's different to talk about the show from a perspective or a production and say, no, here's what happened and how it made me feel and how I thrived or how I've been challenged by it. Right. And, you know, and one thing I find actually that I wanted to ask, and it's kind of, Yeah, I'm gonna ask it. Like, what is it the elimination process like? Because again, you see for 2 seconds, right?
Right.
Basically, it's like a little blip. So
Mhm.
without traumatizing you in any way, considering you face elimination, not like in 17 but in 4, you
Right.
actually had to stand in front of the
Yes,
man
three
who's.
times.
So what was that like? I mean, like, what was the actual recording of that like? And then was it actually what you see? Because that's what I've
Yeah.
always been curious about.
I think again, I don't know if I was in my own little world, but what you saw is what we did. Yes, of course, like there's editors and they edit. And before we sign our life away, it says like they can manipulate anything we say,
Of
do,
course, yeah.
which I'm like, okay, like it's TV. I totally get that. But I mean, again, for me, it was like when I went out for elimination, what you see is us like we're deliberating and screaming at each other, like, I'm not going to go out for elimination. That was all real. They just caught it on camera. And then we then are ushered to the main dining room where we have to line up. And the only thing that was like funny, that was like kind of like production wise, is that they were like, all right, Nick, especially if you were up for elimination, they would be like, Nick, look up. Okay, look down, because you're looking at people. So they're going to edit it to like make it look like you're pissed or like you're looking at someone.
Oh.
And then just like, which I thought was kind of funny. I was like, whatever, I don't care. And then they said, that was really it. They just were like, all right, let's line up. And then like, let's just do that again. But it was never like, I was never a robot. I was never told what to say. And I was shitting my pants. Like when they were like, you're up for elimination, come forward. I was like, fuck. I was like, I'm going to get eliminated. Like it was me and one other person literally, less than 5 feet in front of Chef Ramsay. So
Yeah.
that was definitely, and then that was definitely scary.
Yeah.
But the way they showed it, it's just a shorter version of what happened. It was way
Okay.
longer, obviously. Like
Yeah.
we sat there and deliberated and talked about it. And like, but they just edit it down.
Okay.
So all like the looks that we do and the drama that they catch, they put that in there, and then the rest of it they leave out. Like there was so many times that we had so much fun in that show, like the chefs or the cast or whatever you want to call it together. And we didn't have a lot of off-camera time, but when we did go back to the dorms after we were done for like the night, which would be like midnight, and we were all done with our interviews and stuff, we had fun. Like I genuinely did like a lot of people on the show. Obviously people, you're not going to agree with everyone, but I kind of just disagreed to agree with everyone. And that was kind of, I was like, I'm not going to cause enemies while I'm here. Obviously there were some fights and stuff, but yeah, it was pretty real. I mean, again, someone else might say, no, it was so staged and scripted. But for me, they didn't make me say anything I didn't want to say. They didn't tell me something I didn't want to do. They were like, you have to do this. You have to say this. It never happened. So yeah, my experience was very positive.
I'm really pleasantly surprised, not just surprised, but I'm happy to hear that. Actually, the guests that we've had that have been on reality TV shows, none of them have said that they felt like they were wrongly represented or that it was scripted. Actually, and I'm surprised, but I'm happy to hear that. Maybe that was like when reality first started. I don't know. I don't know what the difference is, but
maybe they're just better at casting people now. Like maybe they know like, okay, we need to find someone that like has all these qualities we're looking for, and that like they'll be like entertaining, but also be serious and do their job while it's there. And of course, like they want the drama, so they're going to put people in there that are just willingly going to blab everything out and say whatever they want.
Yep.
So there's no coaxing it out of you. These people are already saying it. You know what I mean? So they're really good at casting people together who they think might feud or do well together or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was no like, you have to say this, or like, Nick, look over there and say this to that person.
Yeah.
But of course, it was edited. Don't get me wrong.
right.
But like, chopped a lot out. But I, for myself, and the way I was interacting with everyone else and Chef Ramsay and other contestants that's just who I was. So
yeah, and also as you were saying in terms of editing and stuff, and they've really gotten a formula for it. When you do your confessional, you're all wearing a chef coat, so they can splice whatever footage they want from. They could take something like that you might have said in episode 13, they might say in episode 2. It might be like a blip, and so they can do that shit. And even if it's not the gain or rise, you're like, oh my god, because like that bitch, and it's like, well, I said that in episode 13. What the hell are they doing in episode 2, right? And so that's what they will do with the power of the edit, that they'll stage stuff. But not every reality show does that either. And I've realized that because my experience you have it in the States. You know the reality show First Dates?
What's it called?
First Dates?
I don't think so.
It's basically, I think it started in the UK perhaps, and then Ellen bought the rights to the American franchise, and then for about 2-3 seasons, I think they had it in Canada, but in like in my city in Vancouver.
That's cool.
you know, and so when I was on it, I was like, oh my God, I'm finally on a reality show. This is so awesome. I finally hit my dream and stuff. And it was very much like that. You know, they take it behind, they don't tell you a lot of things that are going on, but it was a one-time take. It wasn't like a weekly series. It was, you're there, it's a couple hours of recording, and then you do a post interview. But the lead up before it, though, it was very sketchy. Like, okay, come to this hotel. It was a nice hotel. Okay, now you're going to go up to this floor, and then you're going to go into this room, and then there's like a backdrop, and then there's people interviewing you, and it's like, oh, come in your pre-date outfit and shit, and you're thinking, what are you doing to me, right? And then on my date, because they said, would you have a non-negotiable? Of course I said, yeah, he needs to be cut. I'm thinking, oh fuck, that's the one slip up that I had, because I know they're gonna grill me, they're gonna ask me on the date. And sure enough, when I went to the bathroom, our date specialist comes like, so how's it going? How's it going? I'm like, we're rooting for you. Like, you two are the most adorable thing. It's great. And so she's like, so have you asked the question? And I'm like, you mean that he's single? He's like, no, like that he's cut. And so I actually have to tell the date.
That's the question. I heard you the first time, but I wasn't sure what you were referring to. But now the fact that they asked you that is ridiculous.
It's hilarious, though, right? So like the fact that they asked me and I just said, oh my God. So then I actually had to say to the day specialist, I'm just letting you know, I'm a full-time yoga teacher. I'm in the public eye everywhere. It's a small city. And I know I said this to you, and sure, it might be a non-negotiable, but if you put this on the air and it affects my reputation, even if I've signed a contract that I'm not liable, my dad, and my dad actually is, so my dad is a corporate and securities lawyer. I will not be afraid to actually sue your ass.
Right.
And then I went to the washroom and called my mom. And they didn't put it in, though, right? Okay. So you have to be really clear about boundaries no matter what you sign off on, because if you really do it, it makes the show look bad. It makes the production look bad, because eventually you will talk about it.
Right.
So you have a lot of control. You do have a lot of control. It's what you give the camera that they can't take something that you don't give.
Right. So I think, and obviously I wanted to say a lot, I could have said a lot more to people if I wanted to, but I was like, you know what? I was there to win, and I wanted to do a really good job. And I just liked a lot of the people. So I was lucky that I only had a few run-ins with some people on camera that were interesting, with Elise and then Josh on my season 14.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so, some screaming matches, but it was it was mostly me sticking up for myself or someone else. So it wasn't like I started a fight or anything.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They needed something, you know, they loved it. Of course, they ate it up. Like Josh and I were friendly for most of season 14. And then towards the end, when we had to vote against each other, that's when he kind of snapped and got pissed, which I understand sucks to be voted against, but I'm not going to go home over you. Sorry, dude. Like, no. So him and I were friendly. We were probably one of the closest in the house, even over like Michelle and I initially. And then when it got down to like, hey, you know, you have to eliminate each other, and he was flipped out and changed completely. But
no, it's true. What a cute little straight boy. Such a small.
He's an actor now. You know, he's in commercials, and it's very interesting.
Doesn't surprise me.
Okay. No. I would say my last question, I think, from a Hell's Kitchen perspective, and for those of you that don't want to know the answer, if this kills the ambiance of what Hell's Kitchen is, you can pause the video now. But my question is, when you're at the door, or when they are at the doors and they're about to open, do they know at all?
You mean the contestants? Do they know if they're going to win or not? No.
Okay.
I think one of the doors they literally put you in place, so they know which door is going to open, obviously. But Michelle didn't know.
Okay.
Like, you know. Maybe she knew, like, I'm going to win this season because she's got it in the bag, but physically doing it, no, they had no idea.
Okay, because then they're like, oh my God, did we get that take? We got to do it again. I don't know. Is there anything like that?
No, that was it. So like, there's a whole audience full of people. So they like Michelle's family, Benjamin's families, and like all the contestants, and like we're all just looking up. And it took a while. It was just we're kind of like, okay, we're just waiting for them to do it. Let's go. But I think they was getting prepped for it. But once they opened the thing and they announced that was it.
Okay.
Amazing.
So
and there's
one
no
door is
music,
locked,
right?
and one isn't.
And there's no music, right? It's all quiet.
Yeah, we're all just sitting there, like, and it's and then we all, of course, everyone screams when the person comes through. But she had no idea. So when she opened the door and she won, obviously, genuine reaction on her face. I always feel bad for the person who doesn't get to open the door, and they're standing there awkwardly behind a locked door, and you're like, okay, I just lost, and I have to go out there with everyone screaming for the other person, and then it's like the walk of shame. But
no kidding. No kidding. And also, sorry, were you offered any remuneration for being on the show? And were you offered any additional professional opportunities from production or from Ramsey or from Michelle? Or was it like, nope, thanks for coming on. Here's your potential remuneration for taking time off work, and back home you go.
That was it. Yeah. It was literally like, nice knowing you. Like, I remember season 14, like you got like a stipend. So it was whatever. It was something really, it was basically me taking time off from work. It barely covered that. So that was it. It's not like we were paid. It was maybe like $100 a day, maybe, to be there. But for 5 weeks, it adds up. But it's also like I'm being put through torture, and I could just be at home working and make more than this, but whatever.
Got it.
Got it. It was, they gave us that, and then that was it. And then on All Stars, it was the same thing. But I was even slighted even more, I feel like, because every single contestant had like a send-off montage of their like time on Hell's Kitchen, and like they look back and there's an exit interview. They were like, okay, get back in line with the rest of the peasants, and now you're gonna have to.
Yeah, it was like, bye, thanks a lot. Now we still got a row. Let's go.
And that pissed me off too. But
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. My God.
And the only thing that made me feel better is that like some of the crew, like people that were on the show, like the waiters, and they're actual waiters, but like they're hired to come on the show. Like they were like crying when I like went home, and I was like, that's so sweet that you feel that strongly about me. I appreciate it.
Oh, I was fucking pissed. I was so pissed.
It seemed very sketchy when I walked off to go like basically leave, because then the following day the finale was filmed. It was weird. Something weird happened, and I don't know what I will never know probably, but I did hear, people say that it was whatever.
Staged.
It was that I was supposed to be in the finale, and there was a mistake, and everyone's pissed, and I was like, don't even tell me this, because it's only going to
it's going to make it even worse.
Yeah, make it worse.
I didn't know any of that, but Nick,
I had no idea.
That's just a testament to you that the waiters and people were crying because of what I know we're just going to fluff you up even more here, but because of who you are. No, but that's why it's, you leave a real lasting, amazing impression on people. And that's why.
Well, it's very nice to say. I don't know about that, but they were all very sweet. And I mean,
you wouldn't be doing that for everybody. Come on.
True. No, maybe
they wouldn't
clapping for some people who left, I'm sure.
No, they'd be clapping.
Yeah, for people leaving.
They'd be clapping up like, good job, and actually like, fuck off, thanks a lot. You made our life a living hell. Bye. And
I'm sure a lot of them, they probably had, that would be an interesting reality show, is the servers on that show.
Yes.
They all seem, they're all walks of life too. They're all really funny, have big personalities, and that would be a funny show.
Yeah, and the one thing I was going to say, and hopefully I'll remember it now, is, fuck. What was it? Oh, it was so good. Yeah, exactly. No. Damn it. No. Oh, such a good question too. Oh, whatever. I'll come back.
It'll come back to you. And I know we're already over the time that we were talking about chatting with you for. And, as we conclude our conversation with you, I also just want to say we'll put in our show notes about how people can vote for you, because
awesome. Thank you.
And we'll try to promote the shit out of that, because we want to see you. You deserve it.
Yeah.
Well, and we won't, we also, you get our word. We will not promote any other Hell's Kitchen contestant on that. Or
I don't think Mary Lou's doing it, so I think you guys are good.
No, and also I found I remember a question. I gotta tell you though, a lot of people that go on these shows, it's better to be a runner-up than be a winner, because they lock you in a contract, usually last a year most, and then you're done, and they don't even renew you. It's about what you do after the show, whether you win or don't. You're better off being like an American Idol. I know initially after Kelly Clarkson won, I think they changed the agreement of the show where it's like, if you win, you always hear more about the runner-up than the winner. Right. It's because they give you a recording contract for one album, and it's about that launch of that album to see if you can take it somewhere, and if you don't, they drop you, and then you can't sign another recording deal for X amount of time. So and when I've read about all the winners of Hell's Kitchen, only a few of them actually are winning and doing the job that they
and taking the job. Yes.
Offered. Some of them don't even get the job because they don't meet enough standards, or like they get fined. Like, what was it? Janae or whatever was fined for like drug usage. And I'm not criticizing her, but like she wasn't given that opportunity because she didn't pass certain tests after the show production, because they found stuff out about her. So it just because you win a reality show doesn't mean that you actually raise the fame. It's about what you do for the production.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And so I'm now taking my time on Hell's Kitchen at All Stars and now trying to do something with it. I mean, season 14 was a different story. I literally went back and like worked right when I got home and just like nothing ever happened. But this time around, I really wanted to, take it and run with it and see what could happen. So who knows?
Mm-hmm. So, okay, with that all being said, how can people support you? We'll give you a chance now to, kind of plug yourself. Yeah. I know your YouTube channel and those things, but feel free with your own words. Yeah.
So you can follow me. Chef Nick Peters Bond is on pretty much all of my social media handles. Like I have like a Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok, which is very cringy, so maybe not that. But I haven't cracked the code on TikTok, and I don't think I ever will. I think I'm too old for TikTok. I don't know.
I'm too old for TikTok.
Instagram, Facebook, and then my catering company, Kitchen to Aisle Catering Events, is also on Instagram. And then I have like I don't know what it's called, but it's like a link to all my links. I feel like cool enough that I can have that now that I have several links, but that link to the favorite chef competition is in my bio on my Instagram, which is just Chef Nick Peters Bond. And I'll be spamming that with plenty of videos on how to vote and all that kind of stuff. So
awesome.
Amazing.
And I think, Hero, do you have our final question, perhaps?
I do. So one of the favorite things, especially because you are in the culinary realm, you might appreciate this. Mm-hmm. If you were a kind of juice, what kind of juice would you be and why?
I want to say grape juice, because when I was younger, I was like obsessed with grape soda and grape juice. I don't know why. So grape juice. I'm going to have to think about why exactly that is, but probably grape juice.
I love that. A little bit of Manischewitz never hurts anybody.
That's it. Grape juice, wine. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what Manischewitz is? Not everyone does.
That's true.
No, is that like a no? yes, but no. I've heard the term yes, but I have not known exactly what it is.
You actually almost hit the nail on the head in a way, because it is wine. It's a type of wine.
Yeah. Is it like table wine?
It's like Jewish. Wine that we would have on, high holidays and things like that. And it is incredibly sweet. So as kids, we would, if we were lucky,
I can imagine.
Yeah, if we were lucky, we might get like a little
schmeckle. Little speckle.
I love it.
Yeah. No, seriously. Amazing. Like, I think Rachel was going to say this as well, but we both really appreciate your time, your effort, and your selflessness to be part of our production and our show that we're growing. And thank you for responding when I reached out to you. And it really honestly just makes me know that, real people are out there and that they're making a difference in our society, and that others will receive that well. And we just would love to have you back in the future if you have anything to share and talk about other stuff. And really, it means so much to me, and I know to Rachel as well. So really, thank you for
of course. I can't wait to share this episode. And I'm really excited. Thank you for having me on. And maybe when I win the $20,000, I'll come back on.
Please do. And if you don't, then you can talk about anything more than that too.
Exactly. I love it.
Well, we'll correspond then. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And keep in touch. Feel free to ask me any questions or message me and keep in touch.
Okay, we definitely will. And thank you for being so supportive of our pages too.
Of course.
You're one of the first guests that we've had that's really done that. And that says a lot about your
people are so weird.
I know.
It's just social media. Like, for me to share something and like I'm genuinely interested in your podcast, and I think you guys are so cool, and I love it. And you guys are asking me questions, and it's fun, and I love talking about stuff like this. So I love it.
Amazing. Okay, we'll have you back.
Yeah. Yes. Awesome. And let me know I don't know when it airs and whatever, but let me know all that, and I would be happy to share it and spam the crap out of it. And
well, I'm like the techie here, so I'm probably going when I have time, because actually my other job is doing also techie stuff. So I'm staring at my screen for like 7 to 8 hours a day. So I'm going to try out this Thursday.
Cool.
So pretty quick. And I will send you all the links and all that stuff, and we will keep in touch. And again, thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Nick. Thank you. All the best to you. Okay. Stay safe.
You too. Have a good day, guys.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.